Hey, what's up, everyone? So I quite often get emails from people saying, like, what do I need to focus on going forward, and what do I see as what's going to be happening over the next 12 months? Now, obviously, I've been in business for 20 years, so I quite often kind of see things as they're happening or before they're happening, or I get ideas. Now, I don't often like to make predictions, but I thought what would be really useful is if I go through the things that I think everybody needs to focus on over the next 12 months. So these are, like, obviously we can check back in 12 months to see if these predictions are, if I was right or wrong. But some of these trends are already starting to happen anyway. So I think it's a good idea, like, for you to focus in on some of these things and start making the tweaks in your marketing accordingly, because if you can do that, then I definitely think you'll be setting yourself up for success. So number one is, I think organic YouTube is going to become number one. I think most businesses now are kind of accepting the fact that YouTube is here to stay, and it's a way that you're going to be able to reach people for years to come. You can put up one piece of content and it's going to happen. Now, I think a lot of people have been using Facebook. I mean, I can remember Facebook being a really good organic reach strategy, but then they kind of reduced the reach about a year or two ago. Actually, it's a bit longer than that, about 2 years ago. And, I've seen sometimes, like, in my own group, I can only reach like 5 to 10% of my entire group. My group that people have signed up for to hang out with me, that actually want to hear if I have something to say, I'm only reaching sometimes 5-10% of that group. So, and there are strategies you can do on YouTube to increase engagement and stuff like that. But generally speaking, what we've found with the overall consensus is with Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all these different social media platforms is that within about 48 hours, everything's gone. And because of that, that's, you can reach a lot of people in a very short space of time, but it's kind of a grind, right? You've got to do that. Whereas YouTube, you can obviously put one piece of content up and it can carry on reaching people for years to come. I think people are starting to focus on this and realize this. And not only that, because all these other platforms are, they're really limiting the reach that you can have after that sort of initial 48 hours. I think this is going to be big. So that's number one prediction. Number two, I think email marketing is still going to be number one. Now, email marketing is the number one way I actually generate a consistent, predictable revenue. I didn't actually start my first email list till 2017, and I kind of look back and think, well, what on earth was I doing, right? It's kind of crazy, but email marketing is massive, okay? So a couple of things to consider here. So if you're going to create an email list, okay, you don't want to just go and create like 100,000 email subscribers just by putting up loads of like crappy offers that kind of get them to subscribe, but they don't really know who you are. The strategy here is less is more, right? I have a very small email list, but it's hyper engaged, okay? And the reason I do that is because I focused on a couple of things. So what I think going forward is that email marketing is going to there's going to be more competition, right? So there's going to be more stuff appearing in people's inboxes. So what you need to think about is when someone sees your name, are they going to want to open your email? Pretty much regardless whatever you give them, right? So a couple of things to focus in. You want to be delivering value in people's email boxes, not just trying to sell them all the time, right? So Gary Vee came out with a book a few years ago, which was Jab, 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 Right Hook, right? And Jab, Jab, Jab is like you keep delivering content and then you can sell. Okay, so that's the first thing, is that are you delivering value first, so people are opening the emails with your name in it, not expecting to be sold anything, but be expected to be given something, right? And that's the strategy I've always had with email marketing. So every time I get somebody as a subscriber on my list, I'm giving them value, right? So I'm saying, here, watch this video, watch this, watch this. And when people open those, and they open a few of those, not only does that send a signal to their autoresponders and their, the Gmail or whatever, that not to go into the spam folder, but to go into the inbox, which is crucial. People get used to that kind of opening the email. So when I do have something to offer, they will want to listen. So a couple of things there. Email marketing is still massive. It's going to be your number one asset, okay? In any business, your list, your leads are always the biggest thing. So this is going to stay the number one, right? But you want to be considering, obviously, if you haven't started building an email list, start building an email list and start thinking of ways you can deliver value first. Okay, so what can you give? Okay, what can you give without asking for any money? Okay, and if you do that, and there's something that you can deliver, and people get used to seeing your name and opening your emails, then that person is now, they're now one of your fans, right? Because you've been giving them value, they're opening your emails, and again, you only need a small email list for that. So this is still going to stay big, okay? But again, there's going to be a lot more people coming online, which I'll get to in a minute. So you want to consider, making sure you're delivering value so people are opening that, okay? So that's number 2. Number 3 is I see that more people are going to be doing service first based businesses. So I've seen a bit of a trend over the last few years of people kind of putting up these tripwire funnels, or these things where, we get somebody's email by offering them something here of not much value, but we get it. And now we've got an email list, right? But the fact is that obviously by doing that, somebody then kind of thinks they've been tricked. They don't want to open your emails and they don't care, right? And a few years ago, those kind of strategies worked. You get someone on your email list and they would watch your webinar where, you might have 3 lame secrets that don't really help them, those sort of things. So what we're going to start seeing now is people really delivering more value, because people are going to have to, right? Something that I kind of decided a few years ago when I started my business, I realized that I wanted to stand out, and actually it was quite easy. All I had to do was go and deliver value, and then suddenly, I started earning money. Okay, and when I tried all the other strategies first, and I was kind of getting ignored, and then when I just started helping people, serving, okay, and that is also a great way to do business, because you will make a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but you're also going to build that know, like, and trust. And I think know, like, and trust is becoming the most important asset now, because most people don't know who to trust, they don't know where to go. So I think a lot of people are going to be offering a lot more ways to offer service-based businesses first. And that brings us to number 4. And businesses, I think, are going to switch more from Facebook ads to YouTube ads, because I think that a lot more brands are getting more comfortable putting themselves on YouTube. Think people are starting to recognize YouTube, like, they're hearing it from everywhere. And Facebook ads, been a lot of issues with Facebook ads over the last year. I've heard some people say that it's absolutely fine. People don't know what they're doing. I've heard other people say that some of the biggest marketers saying that Facebook ads are not working for them anymore. So, but I think that a lot of people are kind of starting to diversify to YouTube now anyway. And I think YouTube ads are going to explode next year. Okay, there's still a lot of room, and I think in the next couple of years, I think it's going to be tough. But right now, it's going to be great. So if you're kind of thinking about like your advertising strategy, my recommendation is what my strategy. Actually, I'll give you my strategy. I'm going to be doing YouTube ads. I'm going to be doing organic. Organic's going to be my number 1, right? So I'm going to be using YouTube organic and ranking on YouTube and Google with my groundbreaking system. And I'm going to be feeding that organic with some ads. But my ads are not going to be coming generally from cold ads on Facebook. I'm not going to bother with those because I don't see much excitement with those. But I will have some warm and some retargeting ads on Facebook, which are super cheap. And then we'll have some YouTube ads feeding cold traffic. And then the way I build my systems is that this will be like 1 or 2% of my traffic, and the rest will all be coming from organic. And I'll have it all working symbiotically. But, that is, I think, where I think a lot of people are going to be diverting, and people are now starting to kind of wake up to YouTube ads a lot more. I've seen it a little bit last year, but I think it's going to be a big, big increase this year. So that's number 4. Number 5, I think the traditional webinar is going to be replaced by things like workshops, challenges, and free courses. Now, we're already seeing this trend happen, so this isn't like just now, but I think if you want to go and sell coaching, your coaching or courses or things like that, if you're thinking like, I'm going to go and put up an ad on Facebook, right, I'm going to sell it on a webinar, I'm going to have a 997 course, which is going to be sold, then I would think again, okay? Now, you can sell a 997 or less course, or more, slightly more, on a webinar, but generally speaking, I don't think it works from cold traffic anymore. So if you're putting up an ad to a webinar, you've got to be building out the long-term strategy. So you've got to kind of expect that webinar is not going to convert and it's not going to work now, but you may be then building more of a relationship longer term. So a lot of people are just kind of bypassing webinars altogether now. And I see that the best way to go and build people to sign up for your courses and your coaching and your consultancy is workshops, challenges, and actually a free course. People still love courses, but there's a way to deliver free courses. Okay, so I wouldn't just give somebody a free course, like if you just see them in a Facebook group or something like that. Generally speaking, I would give someone a free course and give them a reason to open it. So you can give them some email training that kind of brings them back to the course, or you can give them the course for a reason as a bonus or something for them to open. Okay, but again, these are all value first models, right? So, if you're going to create a workshop, a challenge, or a free course or something like that, that's again, value based first, that builds know, like, and trust, then you're going to be able to deliver your content. And people are going to be wanting to build more know, like, and trust. So there's going to be, going forward, people are not going to be buying as fast. They're going to be kind of digesting and building relationships. That's what I see. So if you want to kind of go and sell online courses, consider those models. So number 6, I think podcasting is going to explode more for business. Obviously, that's been a rising trend in the last few years. We've just got started with our podcast, but I think podcasting is going to get even bigger, and it's just going to carry on growing the next year and the year after. I think it's going to pretty much explode for commerce. So if you haven't started a podcast, I'd recommend doing it. My little tip here is that I put it off for years, but what you can do is that 9 times out of 10, when you start a podcast, obviously no one's going to hear you, right? So you just go and start talking to yourself. You develop the skill as you go. I had a number of reasons that I hadn't figured out when I started, and it's funny how momentum starts to kind of figure these things out, because in the last week I've started to figure a lot of this out. I've already got way more direction with my podcast than I did when for 3 years before that, right? And I anticipate that in the next 2 months, I'll have even more direction, right? I'm kind of still figuring it out, but compared to like what was holding me back, what I would recommend, I'll put a link to Buzzsprout, is that you can start for free. You can kind of get everything set up inside of Buzzsprout. It's super easy. You can have an intro, you can have an outro, all set up. And you can kind of get your thumbnail done in Canva, and you can kind of just have a play, and you can kind of sort of like see it sort of working before you pay a penny, right? So, but podcasting, I think the next 2 years is going to be massive. So yeah, so I would recommend getting on that now rather than later. Okay. Now, online coaching and consultancies are, so before, you used to go and attend a webinar and someone would sell you a 997 course. And that's what I have. I have my course is actually a $2,000 course, but we've been selling it during the pandemic for $997. And the funny thing is that when you used to sell a course for $997 or above, or $2,000, you used to get this kind of, people, because that was a high ticket, so people would take action, right? And now what we're seeing is that's the norm. People are quite happy to go and enroll in this course here, this course here, this course here. I don't know where all the money's coming from, but quite often people are broke. But the fact is that people will invest in an online course for $997, and because it's delivered in an online course format, and a lot of people don't offer any coaching or anything like that, the success rate is often low. I actually offer free coaching on mine just because I want people to get results. But this is generally the case. If it's $997 or less, people actually will spend that and forget about it now, whereas they wouldn't have done it about 2 or 3 years ago. So because of that, people are now obviously, and also because people are not being able to run ads to something and get a 997 course. People are they tend to take a lot longer now to enroll in these things. Okay, so because of that, coaching I've seen this trend happening already, and it started in 2021 pretty much. And this year, I think it's going to get even more so, is that, people are switching now to this, where instead of if you attend a webinar or a challenge or a VSL or something like that, instead of offering them, a kind of like, here's what we're going to be covering and here's the stack of value you're going to get and here's the price. Now it's like, here is a a calendar link, you book a calendar link, and then obviously the rest is done on the phone, and they're selling those services for 5,000 or 6,000. Same courses. It's just that what they're doing is they've put the price up to a point where people now are going to take action, because that's too much to pay. Okay, so they're more invested. They can actually serve fewer people, right? Because obviously the price is more, so that they can enroll fewer people, so they can give them more time and energy. So it's sort of win-win, and the profits go up as well because the price is so much more. So it's sort of win-win on every aspect, and they're seeing more and more people switch to this. So if you're kind of putting together an online course, you might want to consider doing this higher ticket model, because it seems to work a lot better in a lot of scenarios for a lot of good reasons, right? And you probably think, yeah, but I don't want to have to go and pay 5,000 or 1,000, but you're going to get that more attention. You're going to get that thing if you're purchasing the course. But if you're a coach or consultant, this model seems to be working really well right now, and I only see it developing this year. So something to consider there. Okay, and I think masterminds, this is number 8. Masterminds are going to they're already appearing everywhere, right? But even more so. So this year, I think we're going to see the kind of explosion of masterminds everywhere. So if you're wondering what a mastermind is, right? Okay, so Russell Brunson talks about value ladder. Now, obviously, my value ladder looks something like this, right? I have ATS Academy, which is 997 or a 1997 course. Okay, and then I might have my higher ticket coaching, which is going to be $5,000-$6,000 that I serve. I give people like an actual coach that could be me or one of my team that actually will map out stuff for them, and they'll kind of, give them that, those challenges to get that bit done, or get that bit done. Make sure you go through that, map things out, so they get that, and they get the weekly coaching, and they get, calls every week, so they can hop on and ask questions. So that's the 5,000-6,000 model, which I actually give most of that in my lower ticket model at the moment, but we are going to be changing that, right? So that's your next model. Then you might have a done for you service, right? So you might say, instead of us coaching you on this, we'll do it for you for $20,000 or $25,000 or whatever it is, right? And then usually the mastermind is the top, where you have a very small group of people, usually no more than 100, but usually even less than that, sometimes 30 people or 50 people that work directly with you. Okay, and you have a few events every year, and these are all high achievers. So these are the ones that are getting results, usually with your systems, and they all connect with each other, and they're all successful in their own right, and they all share ideas. So that's kind of how big masterminds work, and that's kind of the top of most people's value ladder. And Russell Brunson talks about this. A lot of marketers talk about this. Like, people always want to be served more, right? So you should have that in your strategy. So again, I'll be putting together a mastermind as well, because I know that I can get together some really incredible marketers that can help each other, serve each other. And also, you then have a community of people that you can just call upon, right? That are on the same level, which is, and masterminds are really, really powerful if they're done right. So these are, I think we're going to see a big explosion of those. So it's something you might want to consider putting into your value ladder. And competition is going to be fierce. Okay, so during the pandemic, it took me about 2 or 3 years to really start making any money online. I spent a long time kind of learning stuff and getting going, and during the pandemic, a lot of people were laid off. So if we go to March 2020, which is really when it hit, when we got lockdown all over the world and everything started going crazy. This is when a lot of people were laid off, and a lot of businesses changed from going into an office to working from home. And some people had to go at business, some people got jobs, but a lot of people now are focusing on online business. But it takes a while for a lot of people to get, to really learn the skills they need to really make this work. It's not an overnight thing, right? So I think that these people that got laid off in March last year, I think these people are now getting the skills, and they're going to be coming into their fruition in the next 12 months, because we're just hitting 2 years. Some of them in the next 12 months, and then, I think there'll be a massive, massive increase this year, and even more so perhaps in 2023. So competition's going to get really fierce, okay? Because a lot more people have been thinking about it and considering it, because I'll tell you why as well. It's not just that people were laid off. People now realise that anything can happen at any given time, and they need to be in control of their own lives. and businesses are scared, right? A lot of businesses lost a lot of money during the pandemic. So people are realizing that, they can wake up one day and their whole life can turn around. And having control of that is becoming way, way more important. So I think this competition is going to be, a lot of these people didn't make money overnight online, right? But they're learning this stuff. They're focusing way more on it. There's much more attention. This was making money online niche was a much smaller niche before March 2020. It's now a much bigger niche, and it's only going to get bigger. So that's what I think. And I think the other one thing as well, number 10 is, I think return on investment is going to be much more of a long-term strategy, right? Because it used to be like you'd put up an ad, let's see if we can get a 2-to-1 ad on our Facebook ad, right? So put in $1, get $2 out, like a cash machine. You've seen all these ads. Now, I've seen way less of these ads now. And it's because, generally speaking, based on a lot of what I've gone through in this training, is that people are having to build a relationship. So it takes a bit of time. Okay, you're going to need to sometimes you're going to get a sale straight away, like people just go for it. But generally speaking, people are going to want to get to know you because there's going to be so much competition. They don't know where to look. They don't know what to do. So they're going to be building that relationship with you, which is why you need to have these organic strategies where people can have somewhere to go and connect with you, like on a podcast or your YouTube channels or things like that, right? Where you've got evergreen content. And I think this is why the return on investment is going to be more of a long-term strategy. So when you're putting your money in your ads, you want to be looking at your spreadsheet 6 months, 3 months, not put an ad in today, expect $1 out tomorrow. Put a dollar in today and see where you're at in 3 months, right? So that is going to be the strategy that's, people are going to do. And then when you kind of combine that with powerful organic strategies, with ad strategies, then you will be getting your 5 to 10 to 1, but it's not going to be a cash machine, right? It's not going to be put it in today, get it out tomorrow. And I see, and the reason I kind of predict that and I see that is a big thing is because you see less of those ads now. You see less of these people saying, if you put $1 in and get $2 out. And the ones you do see seem to be people that kind of have just learned it from someone else, from marketing a year ago or something like that. And they're brand new and they haven't quite got it yet. And funny, when you've been in marketing quite a few years, you see these, you can actually see they become really obvious. It's quite funny. But there you go. Hopefully there's some good stuff for you guys to focus on. Again, we can check in a year's time, see if I was right on any of this. But regardless of that, I think there's some good things for you to kind of start focusing on, start putting your energy in, start making a few tweaks here and there, and start kind of setting yourself up and future-proofing your businesses. So, yeah, that's it for this episode. I shall see you in the next episode.